Hi, good evening. This is Rain, and I wanted to release a special edition of Sketchy Plays that actually has commentary added to it. A couple of people that I talked to and stuff about it, they didn't quite get the context that a lot of these clips had. So they wanted a version of Sketchy Plays that actually explained what was going on in it. So what I'm going to try to do is, I'm going to do this recording in a single take and stuff. And we're just going to see how far it goes. I'm going to do my best to explain all these clips. So here we go. Haha, Killer Instinct. This was the very first clip that I'd ever taken. I was new to it, back on the Xbox One back in 2013 and stuff, and they had this incredibly crappy app called Upload Studio that was prone to crashing and stuff, but all these effects and stuff you see were literally my first attempt at beautifying a lot of my clips. I used to play GTA 5 a very long time ago with an ex-friend of mine and stuff. She was very much so into GTA Online. And what we have here is both of us were going and working on a job together. And so there was an explosion in the back, and that burning carcass of a vehicle had lit her on fire, so I thought that if I drove, it would put her out. So me and a friend of mine were playing the Master Chief Collection, trying to do Halo 2 on Legendary, and it was just funny as hell because we had the Scarab gun unlocked at that point. And so we were wondering, you know, can a Scarab gun be used to accelerate somebody flying into the air? So I shot the ground, couldn't figure out where the body was at, and then later on he just falls to the ground there. We were doing some skull hunting in this one on the Silent Cartographer and stuff, and it wasn't really a bad mission or anything. We got the skull, we were on our way out, and he had procured a warthog. And so he was waiting out front for me. He told me he was there. I went ahead, I turned around, and I was on my way out. He had the hog ready, and what wound up happening essentially was, I was like, is it safe to drive it off the ledge? And he goes, oh yeah, it's not going to be a problem whatsoever. You know, we're going to go ahead and just drive it off the ledge, and everything was going to be fine. However, the end result left a lot to be desired, and it was incredibly funny. It was just some of the funniest stuff that we had ever done on Halo and stuff. I kind of miss his company a little bit, but life kind of took us in separate directions and stuff. So as you can see here, it literally gets perfectly stuck on the top there, and it was just some of the funniest stuff I think I'd seen. I was a really big fan of Wolfenstein The New Order when it came out. We hadn't had a new Wolfenstein game in quite some time, and Machine Games did a wonderful job. So I wanted to see about how far I could throw a throwing knife. I had never tried to send it per se, and as you can see here, you know, I throw it, I missed the first shot and stuff, and then so I go and I try to throw it again, and I managed to stick the landing. It was just really nice. So with this clip I learned that the Xbox One did not really cope well with 60 frame games. The clips often came out garbled and muddy like this. So I'm sitting here playing Dark Souls 2 and I'm pushing my way through the forge. I go and I drop the knight there, and then I come across this turtle knight. And so I go in, I get a swing, I back up, and normally this is the process when dealing with these knights, but as you can see here, he goes, he swings, he misses, and then he falls in the lava. It was just way too funny. I was doing a total kill run for this rendition of Dark Souls 2, and this woman had to literally be out of the way. I wanted the keystone key, which is necessary to get to the Huntsman's Copse, so she has that key and I need it to go and turn the rotunda to get the proper path aligned. Well, I had to kill her to get it, you know, and then I was doing a total murder run on top of it. I was shooting for one of the endings. And so I was fighting her left and right. And she's a tough character. Like, most of those blessings that she's using and stuff are just ridiculously strong, you know. Like, I think at this point I had, my armor was close to being maxed out. And so we were just kind of going back and forth and just kind of swinging at each other. You know, she was using miracles left and right. And So I go and I heal up, and I go to start going ham. She just runs off the edge there. No rhyme, no reason, just did it. So this is a clip that I took with my old Payday 2 group. Tragically, I don't play with them anymore because one of them was outed as a pedophile and stuff, so I just kind of made my exit very clearly. But we were going, and during this particular level up session, we were going and grinding XP and stuff. I'm sitting here playing as John Wick, and so we're sitting here doing this mission, trying to get it done, and we're about 3/4 the way through it. I'm sitting here rocking a shotgun. And so we're heading down the hall, you know, I'm trying to give support to the people I was playing with at the time, and so I'm going down the hall, you know, the random here that we have is like requesting help. So when I go and I go through these halls and stuff, I notice that there's just a ton of cops that just pour in right here, and so I go to town on them with the shotgun and stuff, and everything seemed good, and then we had this random cop who just randomly popped up and shot him, killed him, that was it. This clip was pretty funny. Again, playing as John Wick on Payday 2, and all of the, they would call them taser units. I actually don't know the name of them, but I would keep getting shocked left and right. And so it's kind of funny because I would look at them, squeeze off around, occasionally I would get lucky, and it would wind up hitting them, taking them down. And this went on for like a good portion of the map. It was just literally going and me getting tasered and then somebody having to save my ass because I was just really bad at this game. You know, there really was no reason for it. I was just really bad at it. So, it was one of the funner games. Unfortunately, I don't really play it too much anymore, but, you know, it just it is what it is, I suppose. So they just kept on tasering me. It wasn't the end. It just kept going and going and going. Just Payday never really ceased to amaze me. I couldn't forgive this game. I love zombie games and stuff. They're definitely my bread and butter style game. This game was ported over from the Wii U. And to put it simply, it's a bad game. It's not really fun to play. I didn't know anything about it. I just kind of saw it on sale one day for $5, and, you know, I went ahead and picked it up. So I'm on my way to the apartments and stuff, so I had to go through the sewers, then I popped up through maintenance, and there's this elevator here. So I go, and I'm like, okay, not a problem, I'm going to go ahead and push the button and stuff. Zombie pops up, I go, I take his head off, and then loot the body, nothing there. So I push the button again, and the doors are not closing. The doors I thought would clip through his body. And so we have this other zombie come up, and I'm like, nah, problem, I'm going to hit her with a shovel, and she's completely immune. So the doors literally just kind of progressively keep closing on him, and then once they're completely closed, his character model starts freaking out and stuff. It was just really funny. This is not so much a great point in gaming, I feel. This is my first time playing Borderlands the pre-sequel. I loved 1, I loved 2. The pre-sequel I felt always had a bad rap, so one of my friends for the holidays had picked up the Handsome Collection for me. And when I heard this particular stint with Mr. Torg, I just thought that it was comedy gold and stuff. Like, I took many clips of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, because of the dialogue. The gameplay wasn't quite there, but the dialogue was definitely on point. And so while me or any of my friends here are literally going and, you know, playing out this particular scenario and stuff, this dialogue just ran on for the entire scene from start to finish is about 5 minutes long. And so it's just really fun to actually go and hear this. And then my friend Zach there joins, you know, the session and stuff. And it was just a really good time, I think. Another clip from Borderlands, the pre-sequel. Again, you know, I took like a lot of clips from the pre-sequel because while the gameplay was lacking, the dialogue was definitely on point. And it was always funny, you know, like it wasn't... The humor for Borderlands, the pre-sequel, I feel, wasn't so much forced. It was just those natural kind of crack shot at life style of jokes that we would typically see throughout like a lot of the story mode and stuff. And I think that this guy's particular joke in general, it has like that dark humor paired up with insult comedy and stuff. So it was pretty funny to actually go and do this particular mission, and I enjoyed it way too much. Just took way too many clips of it.
That's that. Sorry I can't give you a reward, but, you know, I'm dead. Still. Thanks.
And he just totally gives up, you know. Just from start to finish, just gives up. Just way too funny. I got incredibly interested in this game. It's called Warhammer Vermintide, made by Fat Shark Studios, and it's kind of like Left 4 Dead with Warhammer flavoring. So the enemy of choice in this game is literally just rats. You have like tank rats and everything else. I had joined this match, and I had no idea what I was getting into. It was just random matchmaking at the time, so I went ahead and I got up and, you know, I joined the match and stuff, and I found out there was one guy left. It was literally just me and him. We have this dwarf here, literally, in the game chat, he was talking huge amounts of shit, and he was just taking on this rat ogre, and eventually the rat ogre just got sick of his shit, punched him, got him on the boat, and then it was a victory for us. It was just way too funny, I think. So here, this is Borderlands 2. We were going, and me and my sister Katie were playing together, and she wanted to go and push through the story. I had already pushed through a good chunk of the story and stuff, but she wanted to go and do it, so I was perfectly fine with it. I was having some really bad visual issues, you know, like I'm almost completely blind and stuff, so when I run around, I kind of do it a lot. I look around a lot because I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at, so we were going and trying to kill enemies to just wrap everything up, and I was kind of struggling with it because a lot of this screen is gray and stuff, and so some of the enemies were blending into it, so it was a little bit of a pain. I'm sitting there playing as the Necromancer, and I have the skill where shooting stuff off the ground causes it to ricochet towards other enemies, so I was using that to kill enemies for a really long time with the conference calls here. So I'm trying to wrap the mission up, and eventually this Goliath just goes, punches me in my ass, and sends me sailing. So I play a lot of Resident Evil. I'm a huge survivor horror gamer, and when I go through this door here, I'm confronted with a Crimson Head almost immediately, and so I draw my pistol and I fire, not expecting to get a headshot, and what wound up happening was it just dropped him instantly. I took the clip, and I just thought it was like really smooth. So this is a clip I took on Witcher 3. I was severely underleveled for the fight. It was just a regular contract. It was only a couple levels higher than me. I wasn't expecting it. This vampire here was killing me instantly. Like, literally, just instantly. So I was having to go and use one of the signs to give myself a shield, go strike, throw up another shield, strike some more, throw up another shield. And with no healing items, I eventually wound up going and defeating him. Strangely enough, it was like a 20-minute long fight, just throwing up shields, hitting, throwing up more shields, hitting. It was just this extremely long process and stuff. I'm really proud of it, believe it or not, because the fight in general is kind of hard for people that are on level, so trying to do it under leveled was a real huge pain. And so eventually I started going ham right here, and that was pretty much it. Doom 2016. I enjoyed this game so much. It was just so much fun. I was going bobblehead hunting at the time. I had infinite ammo unlocked and everything else. I'm just going around laying everything to waste with the minigun. And there was a real specific point where I had one of the barons show up, and I just started laying into him immediately. He went to go and jump to do his slam. He just instantly went limp and landed on the ground. So we have Homefront here. I actually really didn't care for this game too much. I had actually gotten gifted a copy to go and do like a review for it, and it was one of the worst games I had ever played. So what we're looking at here is a really serious scene. You know, you just come back to the base and stuff with the Korean army like literally hot on your ass and stuff. So there's like a bunch of people that are injured, and they're walking through the door and stuff and everything else, and so you're meant to like just let it play out and just watch what's going on. I wasn't particularly interested in it, so you know, as you can see there, you're just kind of like, oh, what is this? And I was looking around, and it was kind of weird. Like I see the bucket for the first time there, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was looking at the art above it, and then I turned my head to the bucket again. I noticed it's moving on its own and just wiggling around, and I just thought it was like way too good, so I snapped a clip of it, called it a day.
Come on. Guys, back up. Spence will fix it. Just keep the pressure there.
So this is the Resident Evil 4 HD port for the Xbox One. And the AI in this game is so bugged out that I literally can't really take it seriously. You know, it's just really strange. So the AI has a tendency to spin. And I don't really know what causes it and stuff. The install was clean, so I just felt that it was a bug. And so we're sitting here, and you know, we have the Armored Executioner, as he's called and stuff, and so I'm waiting to get that sweet spot on his back. And so he's walking around, and, you know, I'm trying to literally get that shot in the back and stuff that I'm going to be needing for this, and it was just really just kind of a hell of a thing, I think. And so I get the shot, I go, I take it, you know, using the red 9 and stuff. He starts freaking out. You know, he draws his claws, and then he starts doing the spin-a-rooney. So I can't tell what he's doing, you know. He launches himself in the wall there, shoot him again. And then we have this boss right here where, long story short, I literally just got sick of it. Like, legitimately, I got sick of it. So I had the broken butterfly in my inventory, and I typically save the magnums for, like, endgame work and stuff. And so, when fighting Salazar, I just wasn't really a huge fan of any of it. You know, I just did not like this boss. It's cool designed, it's just the mechanics weren't fun. So I went ahead and I got sick of the shit, took out the broken butterfly, popped him in the eye, waited for that clamshell to open up right there, and he goes, he exposes himself, I start laying into his face with it, you know, just one round after another, go, dodge, he closes up, I have to wait for his front end here to sit there and get my face, go shoot the eye again, and then I just start wailing on him. Like, as soon as he opens, just bam, 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 you know. It defeats him right there. It was just so ridiculous. Just, oh man, I hated that boss. So this showcases the AI bugging out again, you know, and so I was going and doing the lower castle right before the chase scene and stuff, so I go and, you know, I'm gathering up the swords and, you know, I'm trying to get everything set where it needs to be. You go, you take it. I turned around and, let's see here. Yeah, okay, yeah. I turn around, I reload my gun and stuff, and, you know, I go and I look down the stairs, and I'm getting ready to wail on this dude again. Go, I pull out that riot gun, and he just starts spinning. Just no reason, just starts spinning, you know, and it was just a little ridiculous, because, like, I want to shoot this guy in the face, but it's just way too funny. So I clip his face off. And then he has the parasite that pops out. Go, shoot him. He hits the floor. I keep shooting him. Strangely enough, none of my shots are connecting. So I go, clip the top of his head off, and then it still doesn't do anything, so I shoot him again, clips it off, and there you go. I was running kind of low on ammo, I feel, for this segment. So basically, I had, oh man, I had a grenade, some shot shells, and then I had some handgun ammo. And I didn't want to, like, I knew I had to use the handgun, well, the red 9 that I have equipped, to go and take this guy down. So, you know, you go, you kill him, it happens, so, you know, you're running up the path here. And as you run, additional enemies continue spawning in back of you. So you go and, you know, you turn around and you're like, oh man, that's a lot of enemies. So you know, you 180, you keep running and stuff. And in the back of my mind, I was like, God, I want to get, like, all the pesetas from killing these enemies and all the supplies. What do? Well, I have a grenade. So I go and I equip it. I kind of kite them around a little bit to try to get them in, like, a much tighter corridor, and I go and somewhat succeed. I go, I throw the grenade, I back up a little bit, and the grenade proved to be really good. Took him out. So I was playing Dark Souls 3, and we were doing the DLC, and I had to go down to the lower portion of it. Next friend of mine goes, cuts the rope, didn't do anything, wasn't patient enough, so I was like, fuck it, I kicked it. And then it drops down, and it was just way too funny. It was one of those moments where you just had to be there. So we have another clip for Dark Souls 3 here. I took a lot of these during my 1,000 and some odd hours of playing this game, and we're in the catacombs of Carthus. It was one of my friends and his ex-girlfriend. They were sitting here playing this back when we were still running together, and so we're all dodging this giant meatball made out of dead bodies. And so we're sitting here, and, you know, Jess there is, like, sitting there using her remotes and stuff. We're waiting for the meatball to come back. We got to get this bonfire up and rolling, and so my friend Justin here is the host. So he goes, he lights it, and, you know, we all go and we start getting ready to go out and get everything handled again. So we go, we check for the meatball, it rolls by, and we all start making a mad dash for the door. So I make it down the stairs, and I immediately, you know, dodge the enemies. Well, not successfully. And all the people that were in the hall literally just got rolled over by that meatball. It was just way too good. Another clip from Dark Souls 3 here. This one's called The Floating Crab, and it was showcasing the graphical, well, engineering in general issues of the game. So it was just way too funny. I loved it way too much, and so I'm heading down the hill here, and I'm helping with co-op and stuff, and I go and I check my equipment right quick, and I'm just like I'm thumbing through it. I can't even remember what the hell I was doing here. In all honesty, I was just kind of sitting there doing my thing, and I was just like, are we doing it? Are we doing it? Are we doing it? And I was just going through my inventory for some reason, so I finally get out of it. And, I thought we had an invader coming, they were worried about because the game hitches when invaders show up. And so as I'm running through the swamp, I go and I look, and this crab is dead, but he proceeds to float into the air. So I kind of laughed at it a bit, I walked under it, and then the crab just died normally. So I was playing Gears of War 4 with a bunch of randoms online and stuff, and a friend of mine, and we're waiting for the next wave to start. I didn't really like the horde mode in Gears 4. It's really weird, all the things that they tried to implement and stuff, so everybody was kind of holding up on the other end of this map here, and so we all ran up the stairs and stuff and had the base up there, and everybody's reloading and getting supplies and getting everything where it needs to be. And so this was the Brumok wave. And we expected the Brumok to spawn on the other end of the map, but instead, as you can see, the Brumok quite literally goes and spawns right on top of us. Not kinda, not sort of, just right there. Killed all of us, and it wound up ending the match. It was horrible. Like, they didn't even manage to successfully just fight him off and stuff. So I loved this game. It was called Hard Reset Redux, and it's very much so a throwback to cyberpunk-style boomer shooters. And I was just playing the hell out of this game. Like, even though I had beaten it, I was still playing it. I loved it so much. And so there's this mesh that pops up on this elevator and starts freaking out because the elevator lowered itself on top, causing the mesh to clip through, and we just get this funny effect here. So I went through my Titanfall 2 phase. I wasn't particularly good at the game or anything, but I had a good time playing it and stuff. So, this is like one of my little mini rampage montages. It wasn't really so much of a rampage, but everybody in the chat was sitting there screaming that I was going on one, so I said to hell with it and I ran with it. So I'm trying to kill like these pilots and stuff. Somebody tosses a grenade, goes off, kills the pilot. I wind up taking critical damage right here. I hide around the corner, click on my cloaking, then run through. And then on the other side, I start running into just tons of enemies. So instead of shooting them, I just punch them. Punch them left and right, wound up taking out a couple of pilots, and a bunch of AIs, and yep. So this one was completely accidental, believe it or not. This was very much so a spur-of-the-moment thing. It was not planned out whatsoever. So we were going through this match, and there was all these Korean players that were literally playing the game, and they were like just screaming crap into the chat and stuff. And I had a Korean friend on my team at the time, and she was translating most of it. And it wasn't really some savory stuff, And then the ping they had was just insane on top of it, so killing them was hard. So this guy literally was going, and there was this guy who was talking huge amounts of shit the entire match, and she was translating. So I go and I respawn after he kills me and stuff, and I'm running through, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of tired of all this lag and stuff, and we were talking about, like, should, everything be region-specific. So I go to run on this wall here, I bounce off, and I see him again, and I just punch him. So this is why you don't give me explosives, or anything that lobs explosives. I was a thorn in everybody's ass for the majority of this this match. I was running around and just killing Titans left and right, killing pilots left and right. I mean, it was really weird. Like, they were calling in Titans every, like, other minute, and we didn't really understand what the hell was going on because they weren't really getting the proper amounts of points needed to go and be able to call them in and stuff. So they eventually started going and getting killed and stuff by me, and I wound up calling my Titan. I was rocking a Monarch, and it was just a bad match. So I was doing a kill contract in Skyrim to go and hunt down a bandit and stuff, and I was like, okay, not a problem. I went, accepted the quest, and I started rolling, essentially. I was like, alright, here we go. And so I have a tendency to fast travel to their generalized area, and then I hunt them down on foot. And so I'm sitting here walking through, and these bandits are supposed to be like super aggressive and stuff. You know, they're supposed to be like out to kill you because they're hardened criminals. And this one's just moseying along. I go, you know, I talk to them and stuff, peaceful as hell, and then I said fuck it and just took him out with Rad, and that was pretty much it. This was a pretty funny clip, I feel. I was just kind of roaming the countryside and killing anything that was attacking me and stuff, trying to level up, and I was doing the Mages Guild quest line at the time, and so there's a Sabertooth here. I go, I take him out, and then I hear like this giant blood-curdling roar, and I said, oh man, what the hell is that? So I go and I'm looking around, I'm trying to figure it out, you know, and I look down and look around, and there's like this little cabin here, so I was like, oh, I'll just go and investigate, maybe there's something in it that I want, and I notice that it looks like there's something in there. So I go and I get closer, and I notice there's this bear, and it just starts flipping out right as I show up. So this is The Surge. I actually really liked this game. It was a Souls-like that was brought to us by Deck 13. And it's very much so in the vein of Dark Souls, but it has like enough of its own spin to be very much so worth playing. So I was playing the game for the first time, and I'm trying to kill all these enemies, you know, and I just have no idea what the hell I'm doing because I'm bad at the game. And I just kept trying to fight him off. So I see this large enemy, and I go and I'm just laying into him. Eventually he gets sick of my shit, knocks me over the railing there. I barely survived this. Normally I would have fallen off and died, but I tried jumping up the pipe. The enemy was kind of struggling too, and I managed to get on solid ground before he fell off the side there. As I said before, I'm a horror gamer. I played a lot of Evil Within 1 and 2. This is New Game Plus for Evil Within 2, and I'm rocking a maxed out pistol. And I hated this boss. Like, I loved the game, but the boss left a lot to be desired, I feel. You know, it just wasn't a super fun boss, so I had my pistol maxed out, and it just held a ton of ammo, did a lot of damage, a lot of crit damage on top of it too, so I like to play it on easy just to run through and get collectibles, and so on easy it has a lot of aim assist. And so eventually I was like, you know what the hell with it, and I just started unloading on her face. Just straight up unloading on her, and she wound up succumbing to it, and I was really shocked because it's just a revolver, you know. I loved Dragon's Dogma. It was the Souls-like that I didn't know that I wanted. So I'm sitting here and I'm fighting a troll. And the things with trolls is, like, if you're playing as a female character, the trolls have a thing for running off with women. So I crawled on him to keep him from grabbing me, and I'm trying to whip his ass on my way down to the bottom of the area where the pawns congregate, apparently. And so while I was riding him, as you can see, I fell off the side, rode him back down to the bottom, killed him instantly, and survived it. Just too good.
Its brute strength is deadly.
We have another Dragon's Dogma here. It's not a troll this time. I believe these are Cyclops. And you have to fight them down in the lower valley. There's a couple of crossbows on these hills in back of me that you would typically use to go and kill them, but I get kind of tired of it, you know, like, it was a really slow process, even with the exploding bolts and stuff, and with this event I had to defeat both of these guys, and so this guy has most, well, it looks like all of his armor off, actually, so I start climbing. And, you know, like, I grab him by the meat of his ass and stuff, and, you know, his arm's on fire, and I'm going and I'm trying to do my thing, and this game was, like, prone to, like, a lot of weird kind of visual bugs and glitches and stuff, and so I'm going and, like, I'm waving around on his face and stuff, and I'm trying to get that eye out of his skull, and, you know, while I'm riding him, the Cyclops in front of us literally has that eye exposed. So for this game, it was actually pretty funny because I'd played the hell out of it and I was playing it on hard, and a lot of the enemies are like really menacing. So we have mini bosses that pop up. Apparently this one's name was Fluffy. And so I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm just going, God, dude, really? You know, like, I was just really kind of shocked by it. It just seemed so silly at the time. So this is Assassin's Creed Origins, and I hadn't played an Assassin's Creed game in quite some time. I was really shocked by it, how it took like more of an RPG kind of direction and stuff, and it was a very welcome change of pace, you know, like the franchise was starting to get stale. They shook it up, but they shook it up in the right way. So for this, I had to go and take over a base for part of the objective to finish filling out part of the map and doing all of the stuff to do on it. And this section right here on the map, it was telling me that this particular idol, which was to be destroyed, was still around. I didn't know why. I thought it was destroyed. So when I read the map and saw that it was still there, I just kind of kept hitting it, thinking that maybe there was more of it that needed to be destroyed. So when I realized it wasn't really happening, I checked the map, saw that it had finally left, and then I had decided that I was going to go and try to take over a base. And so I'm sitting there checking out the map and stuff, and, you know, just figuring out, like, all the little question marks and stuff, and I go and I get ready to go, and, you know, I really enjoyed this game, I feel. I really liked the world and stuff. Egypt is just a really gorgeous place, I feel. So I'm going and I'm riding my horse over there. You know, he's wearing like the Cobra snakeskin style armor, and so am I. And you know, it's just like kind of like a lengthy ride over there. You know, even though the horse is fast and stuff. And so normally before I approach a base, I will get off prematurely. Like I will literally sit there and just say, okay, I don't want to spook them yet. We're gonna go ahead, get off early. But before I could do so, there was all these hippos just hanging out in front of this base. So I go, I activate the post, and I see these hippos are all just going and kicking ass, essentially. So I go and I pull out my bow, and I'm like, I'll go ahead and, you know, give him a hand, and then I realize that the hippo had it contained. So this guy runs up next to me, bites me, and I literally crouched, like I panic crouched and tried getting away, and I tried fighting him off, and it just wasn't really happening. And then the one of the lieutenants here, well, one of the heavy units, walks up, hits him, and so the hippos go berserk and start attacking them. And I kind of seize the moment, and I use my predator bow. I pull it out, and I start like killing the heavy units right off the bat while they're distracted and stuff. And yeah, you just kind of kept pushing, I think. And yep, and then this one goes and gets blocked, and it was just way too funny how the hippos just rolled up. You know, just straight up rolled up. So, you know, one last shot, he takes it straight to the face, registers in his shoulder, and that's pretty much it. So this was probably the biggest bug that I had experienced in Assassin's Creed Origins. I didn't have access to a boat at the time. I had to get across to the other side of the ravine, essentially, and so I was like, you know what, looking around for it, it was the goal was to kill like a bunch of units over that were on the boat. And so the boat starts freaking out, and the whole game literally started like attempting to crash because the Xbox One that I was playing on couldn't really handle stuff like this. Like, it couldn't really handle stuff like this at all. You know, so everything starts locking up, and then, you know, kind of freeze a little bit once it gets further into the sky and stuff. The frame rate starts to clear up a little bit, and then it bogs down again, and it was just a hell of a thing. Like, I was shocked that I could even take a clip of it. So, Stupid the Horse is a joke that me and an ex-friend of mine had on her Red Dead character. And the whole idea was that her horse was a dumbass. Didn't want to listen, just keeled over all the time. So what we have here is me going and looting the bottom of the chasm, essentially. So I'm going around and, you know, I'm getting all the gold and stuff, looking around, trying to figure out where everything was at. And so there was an objective that was also on the top of this cliff here, which, you know, as you can see, like I start walking and climbing up a fair bit. You know, I'm scanning, looking around and stuff, and so I go and I climb, take the stairs up, you know, look around a little bit, take up more stairs, and then on the way up, I noticed I just hear a horse squelch. And I see something whiz down past me, and it's literally my horse jumping from the top of the cliff. So after Battlefront 2 had gotten a lot of patches, I caught it on sale for $6. And so at the time, a new campaign just rolled out. They had released it for free. I said to hell with it, downloaded it, and I was playing it. And I had plans to review it at one point, but I really just did not like Battlefront 2. It wasn't as good as like the old Battlefront 2. And so I'm going and taking out stormtroopers here, their aim being completely horrible and stuff. So I'm going, taking damage, and going and hiding and running around and just trying to get everything done. And so as I look around for like collectibles and stuff, you know, the stormtroopers kind of stop showing up. And so I go and I turn around and there's more. And as I zoom in, I notice he's doing this head bob here. It was just so silly. So silly and so strange, and then eventually just clears up and, you know, that's all it is. So this one was intentional, or, well, it wasn't intentional per se, it was entirely my fault. I didn't really use a lot of grenades in Battlefront, so I didn't really understand how they worked. I thought that they would either sit on the enemy or explode on contact. So I'm going and I'm shooting at this little walker here, and it's just not going over well. Like, I'm losing health left and right. It's very evident that I'm not damaging it. So I go and, you know, I shoot some more, and, you know, I'm just trying to destroy this damn thing. And so I get to a point where I realize that it's really, in all honesty, just not working. You know, it's just not working at all. So I get a little annoyed with it, and I go ahead and I'm getting shot at. There's another one. I decide really early on that I don't want to deal with this. I pull out the grenade launcher, shoot it, and I had no idea that the grenades would come back and hit me. So this is Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, a remaster done by Night Dive Studios, I believe. They did a good job with it. Damn good game, damn good company. I was kind of sitting here pushing my way through the Hive and stuff. I hated this level because it had such bad level design, and then, you know, 20-something years later, it still doesn't hold up. So I'm going and trying to collect ammo and stuff. There's enemies all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm at and where I'm going, which with Acclaim games that were like this old, a lot of the level design was like this. So with me being visually impaired on top of it, it was an equally large pain in my ass as well. So I'm looking around, I pull out the boar, and I watched it chase this dude around. It's just so funny because normally it latches on and hits him. And so right there it finally hits him and stuff, and then I nailed the other guy with a boar as well, but it was just way too funny watching that boar just chase him around corners and pillars and stuff. So we got another clip here from Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, and I was going through the marshes, well, the layer of the blind ones, my apologies. And I was, again, trying to do a little bit of item hunting. My ammo was running kind of low at the time. You know, this game, it just really, its ammo economy was like pretty, well, bad. It kind of had like a survival horror flavoring almost, with as strict as the ammo economy was. So I'm looking around, I go through the teleporter there. And on the other side, it's like, oh, okay, fresh area. So I start looking around, and there's all of these blind ones that are literally walking around trying to kill me and stuff. So I'm just taking them out left and right with the plasma rifle. And so the plasma rifle also has a scope. I notice I'm taking shots, and so I zoom in, and I notice that there's no enemy there. So I try to step left and right. He finally comes out of his little cloaking bullshit, and then he gets nailed in the face. So a while back we had received a complete, like, remake. Not even a remaster, just a full-blown remake of Spyro the Dragon. It was done really, really well. I believe this particular rendition is done by Toys for Bob. And so I was going through and just playing it, just having a good old time, and there's these annoying little wizards in this area that literally goes and every time you get close, they raise a wall. And so I ran into it, and then I got smacked by one. It just wasn't really that great. So I spent a good portion of like the next 20 seconds trying to figure out, what am I going to do? So I went ahead, and I was running around. He keeps raising the wall, you know, and I was just kind of annoyed with it. So I just kind of like, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, what do I do? What do I do? And I got really lucky, and what wound up happening was he raised the wall right as I was on top of it. So here we go, and I'm sitting here playing Paladins, Champions of the Realm and stuff, and I was trying out Vivian for the first time. Really, 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 really liked her rework and stuff. It was just really, really solid. And so I'm just mowing down people left and right with this lovely LMG that she comes equipped with. And with me being visually impaired, I couldn't see any of their names, so I had no idea that I was killing bots. At the time, I just thought I was doing a really good job, and so I'm just feeling cocky as hell, you know? And I'm just killing people left and right, and then they're like, Rain, these are bots. And I was like, oh, really? You know, like, it just felt like really, really bad. You know, it was just really, really shitty all the way around. But hey, I had my moment. You know, I just kept mowing. Yeah, just kept going. So we actually, this one was kind of weird. It started off as a match with a bunch of humans, and then out of nowhere, everybody on the enemy team just dropped, and I had no clue. So what wound up happening was I was going and walking around and just mowing people that were coming down this particular corridor here. And again, I thought there were people, so I'm like, yeah, you know, it feels good. I'm mowing and stuff. And, you know, my team had to, like, take a minute to be like, yeah, these are bots again. And I was like, what? You know, and I was just so disappointed with it. And it was like, ow, my pride, more or less. And then, you know, I got play of the game and stuff. Hero shooters hit me hard. Like, so hard. I loved them so much. I actually miss playing them a lot. I don't miss the communities behind them. They're really toxic, I find. So we have another clip here from Paladins, Champions of the Realm. I was playing as Victor this time after the rework they did on him. They completely ruined the character. And I don't even know, in all honesty, why I had clipped this. I guess at the time I felt that it was like a really good clip. And so I was kind of sitting there and I was like, okay, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and clip it, but in reality, this particular portion of the match was like a complete and utter clusterfuck that I had no idea what was going on, you know, and so I was like trying to take out whoever I could. They had just gotten rid of aiming down sights, so I'm like trying to spray from the hip as well. It was just really, really bad. I actually just continued playing as Victor after this because it just wasn't fun. Not anymore, at least. So I call in the missile strike and take out as many as I can to mow down the last one, and yeah, it was bad.
Kill. Quadra kill.
So I'm a huge fan of Darksiders. Wasn't really a huge fan of how Darksiders 3 functioned on the Xbox One. It had some really bad performance issues. So I wanted to get all the achievements for this game, and one of them was to kill 666 enemies in Fury mode. You know, in her little power-up mode that she has where she's all angry and stuff. So a lot of people recommended farming zombies at the beginning of the map. So I was going and, you know, getting all these zombies, you know, set up and got them following me and stuff. And I was like, you know, come with me, my children. And, you know, I just got them in this giant horde, essentially. And then I would just, I would pop my mode right here when they were done smacking me, and I would just kill them, rinse, dry, and repeat. It was just so funny because there were just so many of them chasing me and slapping the hell out of me. It was just way too good, I think. That one zombie was resisting me hard. I actually loved this game. When this game came out, it was a complete and utter mess. It was barely serviceable. It was really buggy. They wound up doing a bunch of patches, and I wound up coming back to the game to check out the content. I even went ahead and got the new expansion pack that they had released, which had released a member of the Adeptus Mechanicum. And so I was going through here and just killing enemies left and right. You know, this was the Corn expansion pack that they'd released, and everything was just so hard. But as I'm walking around, enemies are glitching out, literally left and right. So I'm sitting here and I'm just trying to kill as many as I can while running around as much as I can, because if you stay still, you're dead. So there was this huge enemy here, and what happened was the game wound up shitting the bed and locking up for a second and almost killing me. I barely managed to get away. Like, I was almost completely dead. And so we have, like, this clip. This one was funny. So you can walk off the map. The game is still broken enough that you can walk off the map. This enemy was shooting at me, and I had no idea where. So I came up, and I was like, oh, maybe he's not down there. Walked around, and I saw that little highlight, and I said, what the hell? So I go and I break the game and I start floating all the way down again. And I'm like, oh man, there's an enemy down here. So I see him and I start shooting at him. He's not dead. I get eye level with him, shoot him a couple times. And then I start traveling all the way back up. Neocore Games did like a really good job with this game in terms of its like playability and fun. But god, this crap was horrible. So this is, oh man, this is the remake for Dark Souls for the Xbox, I believe. I could be wrong as well. No, this is for 360. Okay, I stand corrected. Yeah, this is the Xbox 360 port. So I'm going and I'm in Sen's Funhouse and I'm trying to literally go get to the top. I'm trying to run it, that way I can make a character to help one of my friends out. And so I decided to just traverse the light. This snake person literally chases me. I throw up my shield, hit them a couple of times, and they go to hit me again, and then while they're staggered and stunned, and then like later trying to walk towards me, they get hit with a boulder. So I'm fighting the Capra Demon here, and it was just one of the... I hated this boss primarily because how gimmicky it felt. So I was going and using the ledge method to try to defeat this boss. I go to block, I get knocked on my ass, I say okay, let's crank up for like another downward slice. I head up to the top again, hold up my shield, they try to follow me up. So he heads up the stairs here, I throw up my shield, I take that hit, he falls off the ledge, I follow after him, I swing down, completely miss him, but it registers damage. Good old Dark Souls. So everybody who's played Dark Souls is familiar with the Iron Golem. One of Dark Souls' more large enemies and stuff. This boss is actually relatively fun to fight. And so I was really pushing to get to the next area and stuff, so I'm just going and swinging at his ankles. I swung again, you know, and I just keep swinging. He's staggered. And then finally with the last swing he falls on his ass, and then he falls off the edge of the bridge. Too good. And then we have good old Blighttown. Oh, jeez. Yeah, this is this particular clip is actually from the remaster they did, so it's not functioning at a soothing 5 frames a second and stuff. And so I'm going and I'm walking over like these tree branches and stuff, and you know, it's just Blighttown was just such a horrible area. And so, you know, we got this parasite comes up. I go, I kill it, and then it just gets stuck to my hip as I'm walking. So I was literally screaming into the chat, get it off me, get it off me. You know, and that was kind of the ongoing joke for the evening. So this is right before I go to the later half of the game. I'm on my way to go and fight Seath the Scaleless. And so on my way I went to check a corner, and this boar had cornered me in it. And so I was left with a couple of options. You know, do I want to sit there and die to this boar, or do I want to sit there and peg his face with arrows? So I had other people that were waiting on me at the time. They're like, you know, Raim, how long's it gonna be? And I was like, hold on, guys, I gotta kill this boar by shooting him in the face with wooden arrows. And I was killing this dude for so long. It was just so horrible. It was funny, but it was also the worst. So I'm sitting here just hitting him for like 10 damage a pop, you know, and finally he dies, and I laughed way too hard. So I like this game. It's called Salt and Sanctuary. It's a 2D style Souls-like. And I was playing it for the first time. So I'm going and I'm making my way through the ass end of the Village of Smiles here. And what wound up happening is there's these dogs that come and they try to fight you and stuff. So I didn't want to hit that. I didn't want to go and hit that rope, but the enemies wound up doing it, and I got smacked in the face with a log, more or less. So I played Fallout 76 when it first came out. Didn't really care for it too much. And what wound up happening is I showed back up, I think it was like a year and a half later, and my friend Zach was like, hey, we can take you to go speed level and stuff, and we can do some questing. And so he launched a nuke, and apparently when it hits, these damn things show up. So he was walking around with an LMG, I believe, and just shooting and peppering the hell out of everything. And I'm sitting there trying to damage these guys, and it just ain't happening. You know, it's just not happening at all. I'm doing, like, no damage to him, but he was like, you gotta shoot him to get the XP, so I was like, okay, fine. So he starts, like, lighting up all these cars and stuff, and just explosions left and right was bogging the game down. Oof. Just big oof. You know, way big oof. So I tried playing Rage 2 when it first came out, and it wasn't exactly what I would call a worthy sequel to Rage. It was done by Avalanche Studios. It didn't really feel that good to play, like the shooting just felt off and stuff, so I tried to beat it as fast as I can. So we have me walking around here trying to clear out this base and stuff, and, you know, I'm trying to find all the treasure, I'm trying to kill all the enemies, I'm just trying to clear it out, essentially. And during my entire time doing this base, there was enemies that were popping out of the ground, some of them were falling through the sky, it was just a very buggy experience. So I'm looking around for the last enemy, and I notice there's a highlight here from within this pillar. And at first I was like, oh, maybe they're on the other side, but I was wrong. So I decided to take a grenade, and like I see him there again, I take a grenade and I throw it to see if it'll pass through the meshing. It passes through, kills him, and I wind up finishing the base. So this is the remaster they did for Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. I had never played the game growing up, and I wanted a chance to actually experience it, so I went ahead and I picked it up for the Nintendo Switch. And so I'm trying to go and explore this base and stuff. I'm looking around for stuff, and I'm noticing that I'm getting shot at. The AI partner I have is like shooting upwards, and so I decide to try to shoot them. And I'm going, and as they're shot, their body freaks out as they fly across the screen. Ah, Hotline Miami, I loved this game. It was buggy too. Like, this game is a very buggy experience. So I'm sitting there trying to do this map, and I'm going, and like I'm getting killed left and right, and like this map was just hard, man. It was a very tough map, and it had like dogs and everything else that were also lethal. Well, this one just starts spinning around. It was a hell of a bug. Didn't know what was going on. Just happened for no reason. So this map was another pain in my ass, I feel. You know, like it wasn't really super great or anything. Very hard, very challenging, you know. And so I got to a point where I was like, how fast can I kill these guys before they notice? I was like, with guns? No, it's got to be a melee weapon. So I go, and I walk into this room, they all rush, and then I just speed kill all of them right there. It's just so good. So this is the remaster they did for Doom 3 that was released on the Xbox One. It was kind of buggy too, which is weird because I don't remember Doom being a particularly buggy game. You know, it's always been kind of solid, but with the remaster they did, where everything's functioning like 60 frames with cleaned up visuals and stuff, it was very buggy. So I go, and I get killed. You know, playing it on the hardest difficulty, not really, you know, expecting anything less, in all honesty. And while I was going through this map the second time, it really just had some very interesting bugs. Most of them are related to the enemies. Sometimes they wouldn't spawn in correctly, or sometimes you would get stuff like this. I look around, you know, and then I look up and I notice this guy's just kind of floating through the air, you know, just swimming through the air. So I just kind of sat there and stared, and then eventually I was just like, you know, this is great, and popped some rounds in him, and that was it. I was trying to get better at Sekiro for a really long time. I eventually did beat the game, but it functioned really badly on Xbox One. So I'm running around and stuff, and I was like trying to get to a point where I could go through and kill multiple enemies very, very quickly. So I was on my way to the Drowned Village, and I was going and walking through, and like there's a ton of enemies. A lot of them small, a hell of a lot of them big as well. And I was like, you know, can I go through and kill all these people, you know, without being noticed? So I went, assassinated this guy, went ahead, did my little blood cloud thing, and then I started trying to kill as many people as possible in the cloud. Failed the first time, popped another cloud, and then just kept going through people left and right. You know, Sekiro wasn't a bad game, it's just the optimization for consoles was just complete and utter garbage, and I think FromSoft knew that. So this is another one of my favorite clips from Sekiro. I think it's like one of my favorite points in the entire game. So when you get to these caverns, there is this giant snake that tries to eat you throughout the entire thing. It's such a huge pain in the ass because you can never really completely get away from him, you know, until you get to this point. So I found myself walking on the beam, and then I looked down and I said, holy shit, there's a snake down there. And I thought to myself, would it be possible to assassinate him from the air? It turns out you can, and that's how you kill him. I thought it was a complete fluke. No, apparently it was just an old point of the game, you know. But yeah, he just runs up, splits his head in half, and you know, that snake that's been giving you shit for the last 4 hours is suddenly dead. Just way too good. Way too much fun. So I was trying to get better at my drop-down assassinations, and like I said, the game kind of ran at like a real sketchy frame rate a lot of the time, and the controls weren't always really like responsive and stuff, like I would expect out of a game that kind of demands it like that. So I literally spent a good portion just trying to jump and assassinate enemies. So we have these little lizards here, and I'm trying to do it, you know, I'm trying to jump and assassinate them, and it just isn't happening. Like, I get that first one, but then I go to get the second one, I miss, and I miss again, and I miss, you know, and then I nail it, and it's just, it was just a hell of a thing. It was very glitchy and stuff, you know, it was a really huge pain in my ass. So this particular section was accidental. I was going over, and I was on my way to fight one of the headless fiends that they have in the game, but I wanted to do some exploring first, so I was looking around, and I'd recently gained access to this portion of the map with some skills and stuff, and I jumped down, and I'm looking around, trying to figure out, you know, that frame rate's kind of going to hell a little bit with all those particle effects, and you know, I'm just kind of looking around, and I don't really find anything, so I eyeball, and I see like this cavern over here. And I walk in, jump down, and then I go, thinking that I could walk through here. I go to walk through, and I get stuck in the wall instead. And it was like one of the funniest and dumbest things I did in all of Sekiro. Just straight up stuck. So this is Darksiders 2 on the Switch, believe it or not. Me and Karn were going through this fight, and in order to progress, we had to kill all the enemies. One of the enemies didn't really, well, spawn in correctly, and so we're literally having to carve at air to kill them. So me and Karn are just going at it, and, you know, just nailing it, and nailing it, and nailing it, and finally, as they die, their character model pops in. So this is Darksiders 2 for the Switch again. I kept getting this weird kind of knock and screeching sound. I didn't know what it was until I started looking up, and like this asshole was making noise. So at the time I was sitting in a chat with a group of friends, and I was like, hey, keep it down up there, and I had drawn my pistol as a joke, and I didn't know you could actually kill the skeleton in the cage. This is Remnant from the Ashes for the Xbox One. I had a really good time playing this game, but it was a very, again, glitchy experience. This, I believe, was some kind of rush mode that they had where you were like encouraged to go through as fast as you can and, you know, just try to make it to the end, essentially. It just wasn't really, it wasn't great. I didn't really enjoy it. So I'm going around killing enemies and stuff, loading up my weaponry, and you know, I notice I'm still taking damage, so I go and I look around again, thinking that my vision may have missed something, because, you know, short-sighted. I don't find anything, and then I notice that there's stuff coming from the ground. And I think about it, and I turn around, and I look, and I just go, aim, and wait. And that's when I figured out there was stuff shooting at me from the stairs, and that I most likely would not be able to kill them. It was just a pain. Just a pain. This is Darksiders, the War Mastered Edition for the Switch. And I had never beaten this game when I was in high school and stuff. Like, it came out right as I was getting ready to go into college and stuff, so I went ahead and bought it for the Switch. And wanted to get the full experience, and I noticed when I ripped this dude's head off, even though he's dead, he, you know, is a total drama queen, wanders around, then explodes. You know, I was just like, God, what a drama queen. This one was kind of a sillier fight. I can't remember this enemy's name for the life of me. But basically there's all these like little enemies around the arena and stuff, and what'll happen is he'll try to consume them after a while, and you can consume them, well, not consume, but like destroy them to get health and stuff. And so I'm just goofing around, stepping on him, and then I noticed like he showed up and he crushed one. So I was like, no, and I ran up and I crushed another one. It was like, nobody crushes them but me. And then this one was a complete and utter fluke. I was going and killing the jailer, and he likes to swing, you know, his weapon around and stuff, this giant cage that he has. And I got really lucky, saw it coming, and then just jumped up, you know, after attacking him, and I cleared the cage completely. And, you know, it was, for me at least, it was like a complete and utter fluke. You know, he goes and he cleans out the rest of the enemies. This was a good game. This was Ritual, well, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on Xbox One, I believe. And so I was getting ready to fight a boss. I had no clue what kind of boss it would be. I wasn't following a guide or anything. So I was greeted with this goddamn slot machine. And so I treated it like every other Bloodstained boss. I was like, right, we're going to go ahead and try to kill it. And then I noticed as I fought it, change would fall out of it. And so I got this particular ending for it. I didn't know that getting 777 kills it instantly, and then gives you a ton of money on top of it. I literally thought my game was broken, or that it was like a joke boss. I had to do research later to figure out that that was not the case. Yeah, it was really strange. I had to get a hold of one of my friends. I was like, hey, did you experience this? And I'm like, yeah, that's normal. So this one's pretty funny. It is a clip from the Borderlands 1 remake. And what I was doing was I was taking a friend of mine and his ex-girlfriend to go and level up, to speed level up. So I took him through playthrough 2, and we fought Cromorax. Went ahead, I had a modded gun from my times on the 360. A random player just dumped a bunch of weapons one day, and it was in that pile of guns. And so I used it to clip off Cromorax's limbs, and then we were just literally going and killing Cromorax's kids, essentially, for the entire duration. So I told them to stay at the ledge and stuff, so the enemy doesn't notice them, because they're all really low level to be fighting him and stuff. And I noticed as I fought Cromorax, you know, and as I was killing off Cromorax's kids and stuff, they were slowly but surely starting to notice them on the corner. So eventually there's one that just runs up and yeets him straight off the cliff, just runs up and yeets him. So this is a bug from the Surge 2. I didn't really like the Surge 2 as much as Surge 1. The Surge 1 felt like more intimate and stuff, you know, like it felt like more of a classic horror experience. So I was going, and when I started playing this one, it felt way too open and stuff, and it felt more cyberpunky than actual horror. You know, it was really, really strange and stuff. Everything was open and nothing was really threatening. And so I'm going and I'm walking around the lower edge of the city and stuff, and I'm walking around and just killing enemies left and right, looking for collectibles, gear, things like that. And I notice this guy. So I was like, right, I'm going to kill him. So I go, I swing my trusty axe, and I've been trying to harvest parts, so I go to harvest the part, the body falls down, but the execution still goes through. Way too good. The Resident Evil remake was just way, way too good. Well, the Resident Evil 2 remake, sorry. I had way too much fun with it. It wasn't buggy, but there was like silly things you could do with it. So you could plant the C4, walk out the door, and as a consequence, this shelf would not fall down. And it made it a very easy exit for when you went to go and get the medallion from the statue here. Instead of having to mash or hold A on the door, well, the shelf, to lift it up to go through the door, you could literally go, walk through it. Bob's your uncle. You know, the liquor wouldn't follow you. It'd get stuck on the wall and stuff. So I was walking around with the Infinite SMG. You know, I'd wrapped up my S ranks and stuff, and I've been looking for revenge for a while. So I literally lit him up. His body went limp midair. And then he got back up, hosed him some more, and he was down. It was just, oof. And here's Resident Evil 2 Remake again. I was down in the lower portion of the RPD, just let out all the zombies, and I was using grenades again, trying to smoothen it out. Tossed a grenade, and it took out the majority of them, and I was really shocked. I wasn't really expecting grenades to be that good. So, it was just one of those things, I think. You know, it was just way too much fun. So this particular zombie just was giving me shit the entire time. I went ahead, walked down the hall, looked down, and I saw that most of them were dead. I loved this clip as well. It was way too funny. There was just like a lot of funny things that you could do with Mr. X in this game. So with the RPD, it's really weird because like you can run around in the RPD pretty freely and he won't actively pursue you unless you're right in his sight. So I was running around doing item collection as Leon and stuff, just trying to wrap everything up and get it to where it needs to be. And I'm going and checking doors, and as I unlock this door and walk through, there he is. And I see it, and I kind of laugh a little bit. Don't mind me, just walking. We got another Resident Evil 2 Remake clip. And I was playing it on hard with infinite guns because I'm a puss like that. And I had learned from a friend of mine how to walk around liquors to save ammo and stuff. So this guy goes and he drops from the ceiling. I'm like, oh man, he's right there. I don't think he's ever going to be able to move. And so I go and, you know, he senses me. He's crawling around. And then I barely, literally just barely squeeze past him and his friend. And then once I'm through the door, you know, that's pretty much it. I'm running my ass off because I don't want to be there any longer than what I have to. It's just such a good game. Loved it. So, yeah, we have yet another clip from Resident Evil 2 Remake. I was going and doing a sweep of the RPD and stuff. I think for this one I was document hunting, trying to get that document achievement for collecting all of them. And I had missed 2, you know, the entire time doing this, so I was like, oh god, you know. And so I'm going and I'm looking around, I go through the door, you know, and I start heading down the hallway and stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay, you know, is this, you know, the document I'm missing, you know. I was, like, I had a list in my hand of crap that I was looking for while I was trying to navigate the RPD, you know. And so I was scooping up items when I could, items that were useful. And then while I was going and walking around, I noticed that this dude is still alive. No arms, like barely any legs. So I don't really understand why people liked this particular clip. When I was actually going through and throwing up the votes for people to actually go and vote for their favorites, they had some really obscure options. Like this one wound up getting like 28 votes as everybody's favorite and stuff. Well, one of the many favorites that they had picked out. Like I had 1,000 clips and I had them pick out, I think, like their top 100. And so I had the minigun at this time, just wrapped up my Claire run, and I had walked out and I was like, you know, this dude just sitting there snacking. And so I thought that he would eventually notice me, and that was not the case. He just kept banging on the snack machine. So I said to hell with it, and I just decided to use the minigun to clip off all of his limbs and stuff. I seriously thought if I stood there long enough, he would actually start coming after me. Ah, Void Bastards. This is the Switch port of it, I do believe, and stuff. And this was actually a really good game. It kind of ran like butt on the Switch, which is kind of strange because this game is actually kind of light. It turns out that it was an issue mainly brought on by the CPU, not generally the GPU. So I'm walking around, and I was like, we need to unlock this. I go ahead, I unlock it, and I see somebody on the other side getting ready to explode, and I just slammed the door on him. I was like, nope. So what we have here is one of Capcom's many failed multiplayer offerings known as Resident Evil Resistance, and the game was more or less dead on launch. Like, it had really bad connectivity issues, it had really bad balance issues, like, it was fun to play when everything was working, but the problem is nothing was really working. So we would often see a lot of masterminds summon bosses that they could control all the time to harass the players and stuff, and a lot of the times the masterminds would literally go and win the matches just by doing this repeatedly. A lot of them would be summoning bosses left and right, you know, even though from what I understand the masterminds had to have a card system in place to use their specific abilities. So I would bully the hell out of these bosses a lot of the time. I played as a damage carry most of the time when I was playing as a human being and stuff. Didn't like playing as the mastermind, I felt it was too cheap. And so I would literally go and bully the boss. So we have another clip here from Resident Evil Resistance and stuff, and what it had boiled down to was we were running through this area on the clock trying to find all these important items, you know, as you can see me pick up right here to take back to the door and stuff, and like you had to have these items in order to progress because it was like part of a puzzle a lot of the time, and so you would go and collect them up and stuff and then go and just continue on with like the map and stuff. And as these maps progressed, I found a lot of the time that the enemies would do some silly stuff. You know, sometimes the dogs would wig out and, you know, they would walk through walls. Another time they would get stuck in walls. Like, this game was no stranger to bugs whatsoever. So as you can see, we have a dog trying to walk through the wall there. I go, I shoot him, he runs, and then we have this zombie literally sitting here playing peekaboo with me. So I go to shoot him and he just pops out, pops in, pops out, pops in, and I was incredibly frustrated and laughing at the same time. So we have the Hunter Gamma here, which is basically in the older game for Resident Evil 3 Remake, it was like a giant frog, you know, that would walk around on all fours and stuff. And with the remake they decided to make them a little bit more pale and stuff, as well as go and give them like this giant secondary mouth that would flop out of their mouth. So I'm using a weapon called the Hot Dogger. It's a bonus item that you can get for beating the game. You can get it from the shop and stuff. And I had gotten really good at killing everything with the Hot Dogger. It was my go-to for like knife runs and stuff. I just had a really good time with it. And so a lot of people asked me, you know, can you kill a Hunter Gamma with it? I said, yeah, you can. So I pulled out the knife, I slash, it lights them on fire. And I just kind of kept going. You just go, you back up, you keep slashing at their tongue, and eventually they just light on fire and die. And he's down. So Resident Evil 3 Remake again, and I'm playing as Carlos this time with the infinite rifle, trying to collect documents and stuff. And so this was like a normal part of the game. It was like one of the holdout scenes and stuff while Carlos is watching over Jill, and, you know, after she gets poisoned and stuff by Nemesis. And so I'm just going around the room and I'm going and I'm shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. And normally towards the end of this there is actually a hunter that shows up and stuff. And so what was going on with the hunter is normally they burst out the door and then they try to fight you and stuff. They'll chase you around the map and stuff. So what for the sake of time, what I've actually started doing is priming grenades. So I was getting the grenade ready to throw, and what was going on essentially is I toss it, I wait for him, and then the grenade goes off early, the doors blow down, and then I notice he's just cooked on the other side of it. So this one was, it was just something that was really foolish and really silly that I actually liked doing and stuff. And so Resident Evil 3 brought back the dodge mechanic a fair bit, you know, and you could use it with Nemesis, you could use it with any of the enemies, really, and stuff. And so what was going on with it essentially is I would try to dodge, then shoot, dodge, then shoot. Especially on the harder difficulties, because if you can try to get away from damage, you know, you're always going to take it and stuff. It's a very important mechanic in terms of speedrunning as well, because like you can go, run, dodge, and just not have to deal with anything. So on the harder difficulties, you have these zombies that are also infected with some kind of parasite on the top of their head. It makes them a lot harder to kill because you have to take that off first. So I go, I dodge roll, and then I shoot him square in his face with a shotgun, take him down instantly, and it was just way too smooth. It had no business looking that good. So this is Neon Abyss. It's a roguelite that is like a side-scrolling shooter as well, and I had been trying to get to Ares for a while. He's a very particular boss in terms of how you have to summon him and stuff, and then he's hard to boot. So I was using a guitar gun that you can actually get, and I had just maxed it out with like damage and stuff for that entire stage, and I was just wailing on Ares with it. I gotten so lucky with it, and so we got a little bit of goodness from my Doom Eternal days, and I had tried the battle mode for a while, didn't really like it. A lot of the people that I found would rage quit for a lot of battle mode. Like, you either had the Slayer being completely overpowered, or you had the demons literally ganging up on the Slayer. There wasn't really much of a balance. So I found that while I was going and doing this and stuff, I found that the player, after everything was said and done, after everything was done loading in and starting, he had rage quit. And so I had gotten a particularly nasty message afterwards. The guy was really, really pissed. He felt that I was ganging up on him and stuff, when in reality the person that had paired up with me, you know, they were okay at the game, you know, but they weren't, like, good enough to really be a threat. So I would just chase them around as the Marauder. So, I love Project Warlock. This is one of my favorite games on the Switch. It's definitely a throwback to boomer shooters and stuff. It's a boomer shooter in its own right. And so, a lot of these silly little things would happen. And so, the game wasn't buggy or glitchy, but it just had some weird kind of AI anomalies, like this one right here. You know, he's like trying to get in, and he keeps running up against the wall, and it was just like really, really silly, and I just laughed like way too hard. And then we have this one, which I did not know that these nails would bounce up off the ground. I couldn't read the majority of the text for Project Warlock, so apparently the text description for it was projectiles will bounce. So I was walking around this entire Arctic map and stuff, and there was a bunch of enemies in this one room. And what wound up happening was I shot a bunch of nails around the corner, and I just nailed them all to the floor. It was just way too good. So what we have here is a game called Stranger's Wrath, and this is the Switch port. Like, it's really hard to actually get reissues of these games that actually function right. Like, I know that the other ports of this game have just not functioned really that great, so the Switch is rated as the best one, apparently. So I thought I was going to be doing some sneaky shit here. I'm trying to sneak up on this guy, and I'm trying to literally punch through the glass. It's not working, so I shoot it, I go to jump down, and then I just land on my face. And it was just so silly. So this is Blair Witch. I tried really hard to love this game. I struggled with it really, really like hard because it runs really bad. It wasn't terribly interesting. It wasn't really scary. You know, so we have this scene here where I'm supposed to be like trapping these spirits or whatever the hell they're supposed to be, like with my flashlight to get them to fuck off and go somewhere else and stuff. And so the entire like assault, I guess, for lack of a better term, if you could call it that. Once it's over, my dog here, he literally goes and like he's going, he's looking around, and then all this black crap that we're trying to get away from, my dog literally goes and he just starts rolling in it. Completely and utterly starts rolling in it. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, if you know that you're supposed to be getting away from it, why would your dog be rolling in it? And it was kind of like an ongoing joke for a really long time, I think. So we have this indie title here called Maluk Dark Demon. It was an okay game. It was like really buggy. There was like a lot of issues wrong with it and stuff. And so what was going on essentially is the AI would have a tendency to bug out a lot of the time. And so as you can see here, we have this little stint where I'm trying to do some platforming. I land on my ass and there's this dog just freaking out. It was just way too funny. There was no way to kill him. So we're moving on to one of my favorite games of 2021, which is Dusk. I really liked this because it's very much so a new age Quake of sorts, and I had like a really, really good time with it, but the AI was kind of twitchy at times, or sometimes the AI would just do some funny things that was actually worth like going and capturing and stuff. So you literally could go and see stuff like this where the cultists are just bouncing off the pads and just, you know, bouncing around and stuff. And then this one was not like one of those things that was expected. I was kind of going through the lower depths and stuff, and so there's like a point where they give you a LMG, and so you literally can just run up the stairway like this and just mow everybody down, and it just felt like really good, and it was super satisfying, you know, and you're having like your little Rambo moment, and it was just really nice. So this is a remaster of Stubbs the Zombie for the Nintendo Switch. I had never gotten a chance to completely beat it growing up because I had like a screwed up disc. So I saw this scene and I just absolutely loved it. It was just way too funny. You know, I had laughed way too hard and stuff. I had named it Stubbs the Speech Giver because it was just one of those things that you would just really expect. So Hellpoint was a really buggy game. It's one of the few games that I actually resold because it just was not worth having. It had like really bad frame rate issues and stuff. It just was not great. And so I'm fighting this boss here, and like I'm trying to go and just get this boss done. And this random fish not doing anything, just slides into view. And finally we have ghosts and, or no, super ghouls and ghosts. My apologies. This game's hard. Like, it's legit hard. Like, that month I had asked my community, you know, what do you want to see? And they all voted for Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts. And so I worked to beat both, and it was arguably one of the worst experiences of my life. Oh man, I hated it so much. You know, it was just tough. And so that's pretty much it. You know, that pretty much concludes Sketchy Plays with commentary and stuff. For the player credits, basically a lot of these people I no longer game with anymore, but I felt that they deserved a spot in the credits because even though, like, a lot of them I had to let go because they were toxic or a lot of them were disrespecting me, they still deserve to have, like, a spot in the player's credits because they still contributed. A lot of people kind of argued with me, like, up and down and back and forth about it because they were like, well, if they weren't, like, good to you, you know, why are you worried about it? You know, but I felt that they had belonged there and stuff, and it's just the generalized mandatory credits, if you would, and I had a couple of people help me, like, localize the game for other languages and stuff, and then I put, like, song credits in and everything else, and it wasn't really that bad, you know. It was like a real fun project to work on. I was really nervous because I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and I was just learning. So, but yeah, that's all of Sketchy Plays with commentary. Thank you.